Hi there, this is Patricia from patriciafenty.com, and today I have a tutorial for the easiest crochet scarf you will ever make. I'm still not creating a lot of content as it is still difficult for me to be on the computer, but I wanted to share this easy pattern with you. Now, what makes this scarf look so funky is the fact that I change up the colors all the time. And you can make this scarf as long or as short as you like. This one is with tassels, is 3.5 inches by 76 inches. And so this is a really great way to use up your odds and sods of yarn. And then I also have some masculine colors here. So it's more of a man's scarf. And I made the blocks bigger, like I didn't change the color so often, so you don't have to darn in so many tail ends. So this is super easy, super fun to make. This is using a number 4 medium weight yarn, and just to show you, this is the same pattern using a number 5 chunky yarn with an 8mm crochet hook. And you can see it makes for a much bigger scarf. Same stitch count, everything's the same. But this shows really nicely how this stitch looks. It almost looks like a knitting stitch in a way. So super easy, super beginner friendly. Let's get started. Now this is a perfect project to use up all your bits and bobs of yarn. So what I'm using is my stash of odds and ends. They're all number 4 medium weight yarns in assorted colors in acrylic. And then I'm going to use a neutral, it's a cream color. If you want to follow the same sort of design, you can use any neutral that you like, a gray or a beige. And then I have an appropriate crochet hook, either a 4mm or 4.5mm. It just depends on what you like for your tension, for the yarn size, some scissors and a darning needle. And of course you can use any yarn you like. Just use the appropriate size hook and you can make the scarf any width that you like, any length that you like. It's totally up to you. A self-striping yarn would be really pretty for this project, or a variegated yarn, or as I'm doing, using up my stash. So I'll be using a 4mm crochet hook, and as I say, my yarns are all a number 4 medium weight yarn. So we'll start with a slip knot. And if you're new to crochet, I do have my beginner crochet series that shows you everything you need to know to make this project, but I will be going quite slowly. So you put your slip knot on your hook with your tail to the right, set up your tension, and we'll create a foundation chain. So yarn over and pull the yarn through the loop on your hook, and that's a chain 1. Yarn over, pull the yarn through, that's a chain 2. Yarn over, pull the yarn through, chain 3. Now you want to make your foundation chain quite loose, and if you're not proficient with your crochet tension, you can just go up half a size crochet hook just for the foundation chain. So go over and make the chain however long you want, and I'm going to do 13 chains because I want to make this a narrow scarf, narrow and long. And if you want to put tassels, all you need is to have an odd number of chains. So go ahead and make your foundation chain to your desired length, and I will see you once I have my 13 chains. All right, so there's 13 chains. So now we're going to do a chain 1, and that's your turning chain. So with your crochet stitches, there's 3 parts to each stitch. You have your 2 front loops. So this is the front loop and the back loop, and that's for the V part of the stitch. And if you turn it over, you have a little bump on the back here, and that's the back bump. And that's the stitch we're going to crochet into. So skip your turning chain, but into the first back bump, you put your hook under that loop, under that bump, yarn over, pull the yarn through, you'll have 2 loops on your hook, yarn over, pull through, and that's a single crochet. So go into the next back bump, under the 1 stitch, yarn over, pull the yarn through. You'll have 2 loops on your hook, yarn over and pull through those 2 loops. And that's a second single crochet. So you'll single crochet into the back bump of each stitch all the way along your chain. And when you get to the end of the row, you will have a total of, well, I'll have a total of 13 single crochets, and you'll have however single crochets you started with, or however many chains, I should say, not including your turning chain. So go ahead and do that, and I will see you at the end of this row. Now coming to the end of row 1, you want to make sure to get that very last stitch, do a single crochet into that back bump, and that's the end of row 1. Now you'll chain 1 and turn your work. Now this is going to be the pattern repeat. So you can see here you have your top V stitches, that's your top 2 loops, and all you're going to do is you'll do the single crochet into the first stitch, not your turning chain, but under the first single crochet, and do a single crochet. And then single crochet under both loops of the next stitch, and single crochet under both loops of each stitch all the way along. And at the end of this row, you'll have 13 single crochets, or whatever your beginning chain count was. So I'll see you there. Now coming to the end of row 2, you want to make sure to get that very last stitch, and again counting your stitches helps you to keep on track. And that's the end of row 2 with 13 single crochets. Now for row 3 and the rest of the pattern, you'll chain 1, turn your work, and you'll just carry on repeating row 2. So skipping your turning chain, do a single crochet under both loops of your first stitch and under each stitch all the way along, and it's that simple. And so I'm going to carry on and do a few more rows in this color, and I will show you how you can join on with a new color. And of course you can just carry on and make this all in one color, or in a variegated yarn, or a self-striping yarn, or whatever you like, but I'll come back and show you how to join on a new color. All right, so here I am. I've done a few rows, and you can see it's just a simple crochet stitch, but it's very nice. So now I'm going to join on a new color. So you can join on in 2 different ways. You can join in the middle of the row or any point in the row, so you have sort of an abstract design. You can join on at the end of each row, so you have blocks of color. That's what I'm going to do. You can use a magic knot to join all your yarns together and make a big ball of colorful yarn and crochet along. I have a tutorial on how to do that magic knot, and I'll link to that in the description box below. But for here, we'll just join as we go. So I'm just at the end of this row, and I'm going to start my single crochet, and I have 2 loops on the hook, and then I'll cut my tail, and I'll bring in a new color and just fold it over so you have a tail. Put that on your hook, and you pull that through and finish your stitch with the new color. And then you'll have your 2 little tails there, and then you'll do your chain 1. And what I like to do, I just like to do a simple little fold over knot here, just to hold the yarn in place until you go to darn them in. You don't have to do that, but I just do it that way. So turn your work and just carry on doing your rows of single crochet going under both loops of each stitch. So you can just carry on joining on your colors however you decide. You just want to be creative and playful, and I'm just using this neutral color in between the various colors, and I'll probably just pull colors out of my basket randomly and just continue working along. So I'll do a few more rows here, and then I'll come back here and show you how to dart in the tail ends, because this project does require a lot of tails to darn in. It's a lot of work, but it's just part of the fun. So I'll see you in a little bit. All right. So what I like to do then is I just take these out. And again, you don't have to do that little knot. It just helps to keep the yarn secure as you're crocheting along. So you'll just put that on your darning needle. And I do show this in the beginner crochet series. I'll just show you how I do it when I'm working with different colors. So starting with the bottom tail, and the tail's coming out on this front side here, and I'll just go under this stitch from behind and just work my way into those stitches, into the single crochets, working along and going down about 5 stitches or so, and pull that along, and then sort of pull the yarn out and make it nice and even at the end there. So it's snug on the very end, and there's a little bit of movement in there. And then you turn your work and you want to go back over top. So you'll go back over top of that loop and go in the other direction, and just come a little bit before where I started, come out there, and then pull that back again and sort of give it a little bit of flexibility. If you wanted, you could go back a third time. It's totally up to you. So just adjust the yarn till it's nice and even. But I think twice is enough. And then cut that off. And then repeating with the white tail, then I go into the white or the cream color and darning into the cream color. So here now I'll turn it over and go in on the other side and going into the cream color stitches, working away the way along, going under 4 or 5 stitches, and pull that through. And then just sort of adjust it at the end there so the tension is nice and even. And then again, I came out of this loop here. I'm going to go over top of that loop and go back in the opposite direction and come out just a little bit before where you started, and then pull that out and then snip off your tail end. And there you go. And you can't even see. So there you go. Crochet along, be creative and playful. Make this as long as you like. Change your colors as often as you like. And I'll come back and I'll show you how my color changes are working. All right, this is just so much fun. I love how this is turning out. So I think it's just so cute, and I'm darning in the tail ends as I go. You can see here I have yet to darn these in. And you know, some people don't like darning in tail ends, but I find it's all part of the project and it's fun. And so the way I'm doing this is I'm doing the cream as the neutral, and I'm just working that in and changing the amount of rows as I go. And I'm changing up the width of all the different color pieces and just sort of mixing it up randomly. And there's no rhyme nor reason to this. I'm just kind of doing it intuitively. And I'm having such a blast with this. So I have a ways to go, but I just wanted to show you how it's coming along. It's just so much fun. Welcome back. So here I am. I have the scarf as long as I want to make it. And so the length of it without tassels is 68 inches, and it's 3.5 inches wide. And I realized I actually fastened off here before I showed you how to fasten off the very last row. So here I'm working on this one here, so I'll use it as an example. So imagine you're crocheting along, making it any length that you like, and once you have it to the length that you like, you do your last single crochet and you just do a chain one, pull that through, you'd snip your thread and pull that through the loop, and then you darn in your tail end. And again, for darning in the tail ends, you can see my beginner crochet series for that. Next, I'll show you how to do tassels. Now, you don't have to do tassels. You can leave it finished just like this if you like, but if you want to do tassels, I'll show you how that's done. So I'm doing tassels in every other stitch, and in that case, you want an odd number of stitches for your foundation chain, +1 for your turning chain. So this one I had an odd number, which was 13, and chain 1 and work back. So my stitch count is 13 stitches. This also works if you want to do tassels in every third stitch. So for every third stitch, you want a number that is divisible by 3 plus 1. So this is 12 is divisible by 3 plus 1 is 13, and +1 for your turning chain. So the next size up would be, if you want to make it wider, you'd go to 15 stitches, +1 is 16. That would be your foundation chain, and +1 for your turning chain. So as long as it's divisible by 3 +1 +1 for your turning chain. So that's how you can figure it out. Now to do tassels, you can make them any way you like. You can just cut them one at a time. Basically, you want double the width of your length plus about an inch for your knot. So mine are 10 inches or 25 centimeters. So you can do a template. This is just a back of a notepad. And so if you want to do them all the same color or just a few at a time, you can use a template, and you can just hold this down here and wrap it. And again, tassels are subjective. You don't have to make them any specific size. Just play with it and do what you like. And here you just wrap as many times as you like. You cut it there and cut it there. And then you have your tassels, and again, these are 10 inches in length. So next I'll show you how to attach them. So all you need is your crochet hook and however many strands of tassels you want to use. I'm doing 3 strands per tassels. And when you're doing them, you want to make sure you have your knot facing in the same direction. So make sure that your scarf fabric is facing the same direction. And I just want to mention, you might notice the corners will curl a little bit, but you can correct that with blocking the fabric, either using a hand steamer, or if you wash it and lay it flat to dry, that will work as well. So you just take your strands, you fold them in half, and then going under both loops of your first stitch from the back to the front, and make sure this is in the screen, and try to hold your tassels as straight as possible and pull them through the 2 loops, and then pull it through big enough that you can get your finger and thumb through there, and try to even those out as best as you can, and you'll trim them later. And then you just pull them through like that, and then snug it up, and just like that. And then you can, oh, I did that a little bit crooked. You could do that better. I did it better over here. But anyways, you can put a little bit of fabric glue on the knot to hold that in place. And so then I did every other stitch. And once you have all your tassels in, you can use the hand steamer to kind of press them a bit because they might be a bit curly. And if you want, you can use a straight edge to cut it nice and straight, or you can just eyeball it. And that's what I like to do. I just eyeball it and trim it along, and they're not exactly perfect, but I kind of like it that way. And there you go. So that's how you make this super easy scarf for beginners, and you know, it's just beginner friendly, super easy, single crochet all the way through, and it crochets up quite quickly. And again, I'll bring in these other designs. So here we are with some more masculine colors and making bigger blocks as you go, so you don't have to darn in the tails as often. And then here it is just in one color in a bigger, chunkier yarn. 13 across, chain 1, turn your work, and you can see how much bigger that is with a chunkier yarn. So have fun, be playful, play with different yarns, and just be creative. So I hope you enjoy this tutorial. Please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my YouTube channel. Thank you for joining me.